The concept of human extinction, either through natural events or self-inflicted destruction, is a topic that is widely debated. While factors such as a significant drop in fertility rates, an asteroid impact, or large-scale volcanism could potentially wipe out the human species, it is generally agreed that the immediate risk of these possibilities is relatively low. However, the potential for mankind to bring about our own extinction through activities like climate change, nuclear warfare, biological warfare, or ecological collapse is a topic of ongoing investigation. In previous centuries, the proposal that humans or other species could potentially become extinct was met with doubt, contradicting the principle of plenitude, a belief that all conceivable things exist. This principle, which has roots in Aristotle's teachings, held significant weight in Christian theology. Early Western philosophers viewed human extinction as merely a part of cyclical renewal. It was only during the Age of Enlightenment in the 17th and 18th centuries that the understanding that species could indeed become extinct started to gain scientific credibility. By 1800, scientist Georges Cuvier had discovered fossils of 23 prehistoric species that appear to have died out. This evidence, along with theories of evolution, slowly eroded the doctrine of plenitude. In Darwin's On the Origin of Species, he addressed the extinction of species as a natural, albeit slow, process. He refuted claims of abrupt species disappearance as evidence of sudden extinction, but rather a reflection of gaps in the fossil record. The recognition of our own potential for extinction has grown with the validation of species extinction. Whether extinction comes at the hands of our own destructive actions or from a natural catastrophe, the potential end of the human species has become a recognized phenomenon. The deadly potential of the atomic bomb ignited a global conversation about the real possibility of human extinction. This theme echoed throughout Bertrand Russell's 1945 essay, where he stressed the need for common sense as a survival pathway. Leo Szilard suggested the stark reality of a technologically advanced cobalt bomb that could make the Earth uninhabitable. Rachel Carson's 1962 work, Silent Spring, underlined the looming environmental devastation. The concept of nuclear winter further brought attention to the extinction issue, and Carl Sagan highlighted the severe long-term impact on our descendants. Esteemed thinkers like John Leslie and Sir Martin Rees explored these themes in their writings, emphasizing the shared commonality of threats against humanity posed by technological advancements. In the 21st century, this conversation continues with books like Toby Ord's The Precipice, Existential Risk, and the Future of Humanity, discussing and quantifying existential risks, pointing towards artificially intelligent technologies and biotechnology as primary threats. A multitude of potential causes could lead to human extinction, from nuclear warfare and devastating biological weapons to ecological collapse and out-of-control aid. Other futuristic scenarios include nanotechnology going rogue or a catastrophic scientific accident, such as a black hole or vacuum instability disaster. Population dynamics, including overpopulation and consumption, could risk resource depletion and subsequent population crash. Alternatively, gradual decline in population due to lifestyle choices or displacement by a genetically engineered species might be the tipping point. Natural and external factors pose great threats too. An unstoppable pandemic, a megavolcanic eruption, or cataclysmic asteroid impact could potentially end human life. Proximity to a supernova or gamma ray bursts, extreme solar flares, or even a malevolent extraterrestrial incursion could potentially seal humanity's fate. In the grand scheme of evolution, humanity as we know it might simply evolve or be replaced by a new Homo species or subspecies, signifying Homo sapiens sapiens' extinction. Thus, the theme of human extinction is multifaceted, coalescing diverse causes, potential threats, and paths into a cohesive narrative, exploring human vulnerability in the face of its own technological progress and the uncontrollable forces of nature. Consensus widely held by experts points towards human-made existential threats posing a greater hazard than natural ones. This conclusion is driven by the ability to measure natural risks empirically, as evidenced by a history of human existence spanning 200,000 years. Within this span, mankind has weathered natural threats of comparable intensity, suggesting a survival rate better than 1 in 14,000 per annum. This understanding of natural threat likelihood can be further unpacked by examining geological patterns. Large-scale events like asteroid impacts, sufficient to trigger an extinction, level impact winter before 2100 are estimated to be chances in a million. Supervolcanic eruptions that could bring about a volcanic winter potentially jeopardizing human survival occur roughly once every 50,000 years, however. Such events don't necessarily escalate to human extinction level. For instance, it is still debated whether supervolcano Mtoba could have wiped out human life with its last eruption. In contrast to natural threats, human-made existential risks offer no historical anchors for assurance. The last 77 years post the advent of nuclear armament and the emergence of future technologies offer no guarantees for human survival. According to Carl Sagan, humanity is now in a time of perils, a period riddled with human-created unprecedented risk levels. Considering routine observations and modeling's limitations, expert opinions are oftentimes relied upon for estimating these probabilities. According to a controversial theory by Richard Gott, humanity's chances of extinction in the next 7,800,000 years stand at 95. Several scholars have predicted dire outcomes. In 1996, John Leslie estimated a 30s risk of extinction occurring in the next 5 centuries. Martin Rees in 2003 pegged the chance of civilization's collapse in the 21st century at 50. The Global Challenges Foundation's 2016 annual report estimates at least a 0.5 yearly possibility of human extinction, and a 2016 survey saw experts offering a median estimate of 5 chance that human level A might culminate in an extremely adverse scenario, such as human annihilation. In 2020, Toby Ord, in his book The Precipice, Existential Risk and the Future of Humanity, quoted an existential risk in subsequent century as 1 in 6. As of July 2023, Metaculus users estimated a 3 chance of human termination by 2100. In 2010, Australian scientist Frank Fenner voiced his prediction of human extinction within a century, primarily attributing it to overpopulation, environmental decay, and climate change. Oxford University philosopher Nick Bostrom, known for his insights on existential risk, contends that it is mistaken to think there's less than a 25% chance of imminent human extinction. He adds that avoiding this eventuality may prove challenging, particularly in adequately preparing precautions, as these risks provide no second chances or room for error. With his distinctive doomsday viewpoint, whether disputed or not, fellow philosopher John Leslie ascribes a 70% survival chance for humanity in the next 5 centuries. Leslie bases this estimate on the fact that human extinction has never occurred, yet acknowledges the need to factor in anthropic arguments subjectively. His contribution is also shaped by his references to the observational selection effect on our perception of the past, which, according to him, could hinder the argument that our safety is a given, considering the absence of past global catastrophes. On a more scientific approach, Jean-Marc Salati calculates the possibility of human extinction due to a colossal asteroid hitting the Earth, with odds ranging from 0.3 to 0.3 within the next billion years if we remain earthbound. The scariest scenario he identifies is the probability of an enormous comet crashing into the Earth within the next century if there are no advancements made in space settlements or interventions. Considering existential versus manageable personal risks like health conditions, Ken Olam, Joshua Knobe, and Alexander Vilenkin believe the potential for human extinction does indeed have practical consequences. They advocate that focus should be more on dealing with yet undiscovered asteroids that pose a threat, and the likeliness that supernovas might be more lethal than we currently understand, rather than worrying about specific scenarios like a nearby star turning into a supernova. Thus, the type of looming disasters and efficiently preventing them heavily depends on whether the wide-ranging doomsday argument is embraced. Focusing on the concept of existential risks, which are threats capable of causing human extinction or halting human advancement permanently. Various academics have proposed that due to the enormous potential future lives at risk, even slight decreases in existential risk are immensely valuable. This concept springs from a popular discourse spearheaded by Direct Parfit on the ethics of human extinction. Parfit's perspective on humanity's destruction and its impact is more serious than what most perceive. He compares 3 scenarios, namely a peaceful existence, a nuclear war annihilating 99s of humanity, and a nuclear war exterminating 100s of humanity. He posits that the difference between the second and third scenario is far more significant than the difference between the first and second scenario. The severity of an existential disaster is gauged by humanity's potential longevity and achievements if it persists. In a utilitarian approach, safeguarding humanity is vitally important with respect to its lasting time, population size, and overall quality of life. Species typically survive 1 million years before becoming extinct, but humans have the potential for 1 billion years, or even longer if colonization beyond Earth is possible. A potential loss in case of human extinction would be enormous. Hence, even a trivial reduction in existential risk holds immense moral significance. Carl Sagan, in 1983, emphasized that extinction's numerical quantification must account for the unborn future generations. By his metrics, the cost of extinction far outweighs the significant but less consequential nuclear wars that cause hundreds of millions of fatalities. The potential loss also encompasses aspects of culture, science, Earth's evolutionary history, and the legacy of our forebears. Finally, philosopher Robert Adams, in 1989, diverged from Parfay's impersonal standpoints, leaning instead towards the moral obligation of preserving humanity's future as an elaborate project. This encompasses aspirations for an enhanced society that's more equitable, satisfying, and peaceful. Bostrom's theories delve into the idea that the universe has a capacity to support tremendous amounts of life, biological and digital. He argues that if humans were uploaded onto computers, it could sustain a quantity of cybernetic human life, years that is truly astounding. However, complex theories around population ethics from economists and philosophers propose that future generations may not hold much moral value. While this outlook is contentious, it is generally agreed that an existential catastrophe would result in unimaginable suffering. It would not only terminate the lives of the current global population, but also annihilate everything that gives life value, causing significant distress therefore. Even if future generations are disregarded, the imperative to reduce existential risk remains, anchored in our compassion for the people alive today. Ethical perspectives that consider the destruction caused by existential catastrophes expand beyond utilitarianism. Beyond the loss of humanity, such a catastrophe would wipe out cultural artifacts, languages, traditions, and value. Rich elements we hold dear, ethics that dictate our duty to safeguard and cherish value, would define this as a devastating loss that must be circumvented. Historical figures such as Edmund Burke emphasize a shared duty amongst the living, the dead, and the unborn. Such a commitment implies the importance of preserving humanity's heritage for future generations. Economists Martin Weitzman and Richard Posner highlight the implications of global catastrophic risks, primarily stemming from climate change and catastrophic events that are inadequately addressed. While this dialogue is dominated by the urgency to prevent such calamities, some philosophers, including David Benatar, Stephen Best, and Todd May, advocate for the antinatalist position. They argue that human existence is inherently harmful, and thus our extinction could benefit the planet and its non-human inhabitants. This environmentally focused perspective is shared by groups like the Voluntary Human Extinction Movement and the Church of Euthanasia, who propose that the path to halting further environmental damage lies in human extinction.